Hopefully everything is actually just felt like hopping on and goofing off with some Delvings and maybe an instance, maybe do some on. Good enough time to actually make sure my test stuff still works. So hopefully things are still fired up. And let's see, today we got Net and Glade is always a good start out. Other than in a couple spaces, you can do all of this in solo. So no matter what the delving corruptions are, it usually won't be too much. Don't know what they are yet today, so I'm just going to be an idiot and start at tier 10. Because why not? Battle lore and warding lore are still good, but I need tokens and food and a cat. Hey, Sparrow. See you sneaking in here. Wanted to see if all of my stuff actually is still working. Okay, today's corruption. Oh, yeah, this is going to be one that is going to be a royal pain. Because this is a double tier corruption, which means that I can basically purge it off down to tier 1, which is a lower level of damage resistance. But if I repurge it a second time with my corruption purge, then they'll have a chance to put it back on. And they put it back on at the full tier 2, which reflects 45% of the damage I do back to me as shadow damage. So this one sucks, and maybe tier 10 was a mistake. So we're going to take off one of our DPS virtues here and add a bit more toughness. Yeah, Sparrow, so if you missed it, I'm running a kind of delving or two. These are what you can do at level 140. So basically when you hit level cap, you can run some of the missions and instances at a higher difficulty tier with increased, basically increased mob difficulties with various twists. And the twist on this one is that these guys have a really obnoxious ability that is this damage reflection here. So I'm going to have to work on that ASAP as I take these guys down. So now I've purged it down to tier 1, which means that instead of reflecting 45% of the damage that I do to them as shadow damage back to me, it only does 15%. 15 I can live through. If I had known that that was the corruption effect for today's Andrath missions, I would not have chosen to do this at tier 10. I would have 7. And of course they also usually have their normal stuff like ground effects and various poisons. But the whole reason also that I'm starting with Net and Glade, this particular mission, is that it can be done in all solo pulls aside from a couple of places where you'll get one of the elite spiders and it's kind of minder. For 4 for the enemy not being in cocoons, which probably means that the next couple of cocoons I open are going to have orcs in them. Just going to take it out first. I don't trust that. And that's why. Womp womp. Hey, bounty. So this is what happens when you are not careful. Pulls in. Yeah, each of the 2 spiders was putting their own poison areas on the ground, as well as the elite spider has a smaller poison area that it does as well. So that was just stacks of bad. Might be able to pull the smaller one, just if I can pull it out of stealth. Queen is there. I think, there we go. Stealth spider. You can see it, even the smaller non-elite spiders can easily eat half a health bar. And I am missing a few at this point. Yes, the add-on at the top left that shows all the buffs and debuffs is one of my absolute favorite plugins, and it is called Buff Bar. You can actually go in and do, let's see, that's in System Menu, Plugin Manager. This is Buff Bars. And you can set up various different effect windows, effect sliders. So you can set up the main buff bar over here. I also have a slider down here, which honestly I'm going to turn off because I just don't use it on this character, where it shows a different view. And you can customize it to look for buffs specifically and track them. So on my captain, for example, I tend to have another display that I will put either above or below my portrait, showing whether or not I have some of the captain's short-term buffs on, like my battle states, that are color-coded, so I can see if I see that bar showing red, I know that I'm in battle-hardened state. If I see it in blue, I know that I'm in battle-readied state. No, flipped, vice versa. And if it's purple, because I have them both sitting on top of each other semi-transparent, then I know I have both states active at once, which is where I want to park most of the time. So you can have it track a lot of good buffs for you. It's just a little bit fiddly to set it up if you kind of are learning it. I did not get that interrupt off in time. Okay, one, and I've got these two annoying spiders. There's usually another stealth one right around these here. Here, spider, 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 spider. Yeah, poison clouds are nasty today. And just because of numbers, this cocoon probably is going to have an orc in it. Technically, I can ignore this spider down there, but sometimes they add at the last cocoon, and I just don't want to deal with that. Probably one more stealth spider around that. This is usually a 2-pull. Ah. Anytime you can split pulls is worth doing. Okay, that's 7 of 8. Now I go back to the cocoon that I skipped before. Died and didn't go do this one. I think I've gotten 2 half wounds. Oh yeah, normally my default on these is I run them at tier 7. And tier 7, most of these I can kind of just stand through on the champ and just suck it up. But tier 10 is just nasty. And so I really just do it as a challenge because the rewards are not that much better than tier 7, to be honest. It's mostly just for fun.
What can I do for you? What do you need?
Okay. Get anything good or is it junk? It is junk. Primary reward other than the delving currency and tokens was a box of crafting materials. Womp womp. But thankfully, in the last update, they made it so that we can just disenchant these to get more delving writs. The main reason for doing these, though, is that you can barter them for these pieces of delving armor, which are usually 478 to 479 teal pieces that have 2 essence slots in them. So these you can either get as drops from the crates you get by doing the tier 7 and up delvings, or you can just accumulate the currency and buy them outright. And these are kind of at the level where you can pick them up and use them as your starting getting into endgame or semi-endgame. None of the rest of these I want to do here, because those all suck.
Hello there.
Yes, and bragging right. I have the max that the delvings go to right now is tier 12. I have done 1 tier 12, I think. I don't remember if I did it on this champion or if I did it on my Runekeeper. And there were multiple deaths involved in that run. It was not pretty, but I finished it. So we're going to do siege breaking, because this one is not terribly annoying. One really cool thing they did is they're expanding the delving system out to some of the instances as well. The first ones that they've really put it in, aside from the 3-man Myrdain ones, is they added them to the Great Barrow instances, and they added them to the Annuminous instances. Those level like 40-ish ones that we did way back when. So I'm just going to set this to tier 7 here. And we did 2 of the Annuminous tier 7 ones the other night with the with our kin. 2 of the 6-mans at tier 7, and that was an absolute blast, being in there as a full group with delving difficulty and delving effects. We actually had to do all of the mechanics in the and be very careful with the pulls. It was real fun. It's nice to see that they've got that going to kind of breathe some life into older instances, you know? You can see tier 7 here, I can mostly just suck up what they're doing. And completely forget to purge off the stun poison. Even though there's not a quest objective around this way, there's these 2 Uruks that just love to wander into other fights. I swear I usually do a better job of watching my health. But I've just gotten really lazy with tier 7s. Yeah, I think the expansion of delvings plus the landscape difficulty slider coming to the live servers now in the last update are 2 really good things to get people who have been playing for a while, give them new things to do, new challenges. Not standing that stuff. Oh, and I got too close. I pulled all of them. Yeah, he's actually live right now, testing out a new warden on landscape difficulty, and our kin is basically putting together a group that we're all planning on kind of periodically leveling and playing together on the max landscape difficulty. Just kind of getting a group of characters to run through that stuff. And I know that, you know, being Louis and being busy, I don't think he's going to have the chance to run with us a lot of the time, but he'll probably end up dipping in and out of those as well. I have the feeling that we're just going to be moving too slowly for him. One of the differences here between tier 10 that I was doing before and tier 7 is these guys have the same basic set of buffs and debuffs on them, but notice when I did my corruption debuff, which is feral strikes for me, it outright removes this debuff from them, the Sauron's defense. It's just gone now, whereas on the tier 10, when I was using that, it was just tearing it down. Another thing that makes tier 7s, and I think it's the same in 8 and 9, easier overall, is the mob can't just keep juggling their corruptions back up.
What do you need?
Okay. Don't have anything good in it. Piece of armor. And of course, definitely not one that's particularly good for this character, because it's heavy armor that has outgoing healing rating and crit rating. Not so much for a champion. But I might not have that yet for a captain, so I'm probably just going to hang to it.
How can I be of service?
Now for one of the most amusing activities that I do on the champion, which is gonna go run one of the new Karn Doom, or rather Return to Karn Doom instances / dungeon, and fix my virtues real quick because I don't need more. We're gonna do the fully Drac approved pulling method on this one.
You are welcome among us.
So, Sagroth, Lair of Vermin.
Years under the corruptive influence of the Iron Crown have poisoned the land.
Reading my food, but I don't really
Rumors of
need
monstrosities
this one to be.
lurking
It's
within
mostly just out of
Khan Doom's
habit.
sewers. A sorcerer named Gavardach pursued these rumors for his own ambitious purposes.
Pick up the summoning horn, but don't get the NPC. Put on my speed buff, and
Determined to put an end to his twisted aspirations. We prepared for everything
Full
Gavardach might throw at us, but we had not accounted for the smell. It was ghastly. I even pitied the Angmarin's poor hounds.
can't fully make it a wall-to-wall in here just because there's some range mobs that don't like to come around the corner.
Where are my soldiers? Did they fail to contain you? If so, they deserved whatever end you gave them. I'll dispose of you myself and resume my search. The local fauna is fascinating, is it not?
I love just how confident this guy is that, no, I'll take care of you myself. Buddy, you are on solo difficulty here. I am here to the team.
Would you believe it? The absolute cowardice. But there was no turning back. Not when that would give the sniveling worm more time to plan and act.
And this is another one where I can't quite wall-to-wall pull it because these guys here don't always like to come around all the corners. I know Drac would be disappointed, but here it's wall-to-wall. Things like this are why Hunter is nice, but Champion wins as the coolest class. I can do that. One slow slug. Didn't want to finish coming.
I was right. The simpletons who questioned me will rue this day.
Found the head bad guy who thinks he's getting himself a dragon here.
Madness had led this beast here. A mixture of awe and terror.
Hey, I like Hunter just fine, but Hunter cannot do the ridiculousness that I just did in here.
I jest. The children enjoy the flourishes I add to the story, but I cannot trick seasoned adventurers. In truth,
Submit to my will, you brute! Under my control, you will become the perfect pawn.
And down goes bad guy. And instead, we fight the King
so
Rat.
ends the sorry tale of Garbadach.
It's
the
honestly
Elf.
hilarious.
But our tale is far from that.
Spawn your little guys. Second, I thought I was gonna kill him before he even spawned his little.
The creature had reconsidered its chances of survival against our
Which is always funny when that happens because the encounter makes it so that he has to spawn his little 2 guard rats at least once. So if you manage to kill him so quickly just with a bunch of crits before that happens, they will spawn after he is dead. Basically follow you to the chest. You are getting rats.
How might I aid you?
Think I got anything? Nope, just an axe. So story's a mess. Don't laugh at me. I cleaned this stuff out in a long. Why did I have? Oh, I didn't sell after we ran those Delvings. That's why. And just for giggles, circle.
Before the fall of Cardolan,
The main reason for running Sark Vorn, at least
countless dead
in the solo or duo level, is it has the chance of dropping some of these teal pieces.
Its name of old,
and while I don't really need them this character, sometimes you get ones that aren't specific stats like might, agility, etc., but instead they're just all the secondary stats, and that can be good to pass on to other characters that don't have that.
to rouse the barrow wights from their slumber and summon forth an ancient evil.
Let's pull the large tree here and let them catch up. This is another one of those places, kind of like the last instance I did, where when you go in there just at 140 with basic gear, you actually have to be careful about your pulls and usually use the little helper NPC they send with you. But when you're doing it solo with kind of decent gear, like this guy still has some definite holes in his gear, you can largely just wander through it. It's another one where I'm going to have to stop at the end here because there are mobs that do not like making their way down the stairs to follow me. This crawling arm, get lost. always pull all in one big group here. It's kind of annoying, but it does mean that I can just group them up. As long as I kill them before they do their flashes, I can mostly just mow them down in a couple minutes.
You are brave to have made it this far.
And unfortunately,
But Sark
poor Doggo
will
and
not
his
be a
master
part of
here
your
are
story.
corrupted, so I
It
have
will be
killed
the
them.
end.
Really not nice. Don't like killing pets in Lotro, but
After it, after them.
technically what I'm doing is freeing them Sauron's influence.
Freedom. Finally.
Because the last thing she says is, freedom, finally. See, I was doing a good. It's just I had to do a bad to do a good.
At last you arrive. See you now the fate that awaits those who
And now that I'm finally at the end. Oh, come on. Chudgy.
once I served.
Now that I'm finally at the end, I'm going to pull out the little ally person here because mostly she's useful because periodically she'll throw a heal my way.
To the enemy. He who left me broken and without form.
But if I go through this place the way I normally do, where I just run and keep pulling mobs, she'll try and stop and fight the mobs that have been aggroed, and so there'll be these like clusters of mobs trying to
By the men of
trying to follow her instead of me. The whole big time waster.
They will all remember me, and the tales of old shall strike fear into their hearts. In the shadows of
Yes, yes, yes. A vast kingdom of the dead shall flourish. Dude, that is not happening here.
and there I will sit in judgment evermore. The kingdom of the dead awaits.
Kingdom of the dead does not await me. So this fight's trick took me a little while to actually learn. See, he has this corruption here, and that phase there of him attacking doesn't end until you purge the corruption off of him.
Curse you.
And he drops unconscious, and the shades that are possessing him will basically be released for you to kill. And he has two phases like that, which has led a couple of times to bringing characters in here and then having to remember, oh crap, I do not remember what this class's corruption purge skill is. Game actually making you learn mechanics. Crazy talk.
No, I will not abandon this vessel. Not yet.
Here.
I see darkness within you.
And now we fight the actual final boss.
You shall be mine.
The Great Fear.
Your doom is at hand. Rise, rise, my subjects. I see darkness within you. The dead
And he's another one of those bosses where, as long as his ads are up, they're basically providing him with massive damage reduction, so can't just do the burn the boss thing, even when he's almost down.
No, my lord, you cannot
And
summon
let's
me.
see, did I pull jewelry?
No!
All the stuff I out. Come on, good drops. Womp womp. It was worth a shot. See if Sam has a present for me today. Gift from Samwise. A fish. He brought me a fish. Oh well. Fish I can use in cooking.
Hello there.
But speaking of the lady and her dog that we just killed and freed from the evil influence in that instance, one of the things that you can potentially get as a drop in there is a housing item, which is a statue of her and her dog in better days. I have that in the yard of one of my houses next to the kin house. See, happy her, happy dog. It all works out. That's so. I am going to hop over to Mirkwood. Which characters? Because Mirkwood at 140 is kind of. Thankfully, I have a brand fresh new level 60 champion or captain ready to start Mirkwood. Coincidentally. Brand new Cappy. Call it an archer, get a solo stance, and take the boat to Mirkwood. So, Siege of Mirkwood was the second expansion after Mines of Moria, and this is basically the start to it, where you get put off into kind of a little sub area of Mirkwood here, where you're really just in the Murkeves to start, and this little camp here, which are the elves just having landed here and gotten their butts kicked and starting the fight to reclaim Mirkwood piece by piece. So you have all of these expedition quests here, which are kind of helping the camp recover from their initial assault and get ready to push further into Mirkwood.
Mind my words, traveler.
All you really need to do are these forward quests here. But the expedition quests give you a nice little head start of XP and potentially even some gear. First thing I need to do is ransack all of these crates for bandage. And of course, with my luck, I am finding almost none. Clearly, I have to create someplace. Yeah, I almost never have to go up and search the crates up here to get the 5th bandage. Drop rate does not like me today. And I swear, Sparrow, if you say it's karma for the dog. Pass out, man. Soldier.
What can I do for you? What do you need? Might you spare a moment?
And that opens this quest here. Go rescue 3 specific soldiers. Now, just so many things to go out and kill. The archer made a friend. all these little. Another nice thing about Mirkwood, because this is kind of what was fresh expansion content at the time, all of the enemies here are level 61 or higher generally. So it's back to getting decent XP and drops just from the enemies, much less the quests. Ooh, nice. Fresh broccoli. Jealous. Quest is basically just find the open gate to the camp here and don't let it fall for minute 57. Basically just take care of hordes of enemies without leaving the area. All the NPCs go run around stupid in there. Well, given that you planted and got some, that's more than I got with my non-existent. So you're ahead of the game. Although, frankly, the heat wave we've been having probably have killed anything, even if I had done something in the back patio and put beds out there. Yeah, it was real fun. Wee hours of Thursday night / Friday morning, there was a massive tornado that ripped through East Texas and Northwest Louisiana that just knocked out everything in a bunch of regions. So we've still been having power going off and on. Something like 250,000 people just in this general area here. And they're not expecting it to be fully restored until sometime like end of this coming week because there was so much damage. And of course it happens right during a time where there is like, we're getting daily alerts of extreme heat advisories, like, you know, stay indoors, run your AC, the whole thing. Okay, so gate has been kept. Now I need to pillage their supply crates and kill a few specific ones. And soldiers will take care of it. Yeah, so I've lost power like for several hours to half a day at a time. I think 4 times in the last couple days. I ended up just taking Friday off of work because I was without power or bouncing up and down like half the day. Okay, some of the guys I need to kill should be up ahead here. Here's one of the war leaders. And I just purged his corruption effect off of him, so that blue buff he had on him is gone. And if you're back inside and can see, these bars above my character portrait here are those buff bars I was telling you about, where I have the tracking of the different short time captain buffs on it. So I just went into that state. That is not relentless attack. That is battle readied, which is my red bar there, which is my outgoing damage buff. So red means that that's active. And then I'll consume that to get into blue, which is battle hardened, defensive. But I have another thing that can get me back into battle ready, so the bar turns purple because they're overlaid on top of each other, showing that they're both active at the moment, which is where you want to be as much as possible, Captain. Yes, we have a lot of things to juggle. And then the green one above that are my defeat response buff, which basically give me buffed versions of Rallying Cry or Routing Cry while that is active, so that either my outgoing healing or my outgoing AoE damage abilities are more powerful. Ideally, as the captain, you only want to use those abilities while that buff is active, because they're not all that great on their own. But to do those trackings, you just kind of have to be a little bit fiddly with the add-on and set up a bunch of triggers. I think it's worth it.
What do you need? What can I do for you?
Give me to level 61.
Stay a moment.
And the next set of gates, which is basically pushing further out into Mirkwood to kind of help them reclaim more. And that's really what this first little camp of quests does in this mini version of Mirkwood, is just doing the kind of elves establishing this foothold of the base camp here. Start looking for those 3 lost soldiers that the healer has me looking for here, because I want to get that quest knocked out. They're all kind of along this rock wall. First one, attacked by orcs, of course. On the rare occasions I actually hop on Twitch and do anything, I do push the VODs out to YouTube, but I don't make them into actual edited videos or anything. So it's kind of catch as you can. And also, you know, as you probably have noticed, I mostly just do this for a goof, so I don't make any, like, thing of it. I mean, technically, I suppose I should, but I really don't care that much about being a, and I quote, content creator. Yeah, that would be a better option there, would be Stan's rambles about making settings on things for an hour, and Sparrow makes it into 15 coherent minutes. Last soldier is off by his lonesome, up on the hill here someplace. Got this guy's a miner. I should probably actually be tracking ore. There we go. Last soldier. Okay, so that is all my 3 soldiers. Now, since I'm all the way out here, it only makes sense. They want me to go check out a couple of... I think I have the one. Check out the bridges already. One of those catches where when you've done someplace several times, sometimes you forget what order quests unlock in. Okay, yep, I do have the one to check the bridges. Yeah, I do have one specifically to kill riders, so there's one right here. Other bridge should be back this way, I believe. Yeah, I think it's over on the far end of the map. This whole area, Mirkwood, like the prologue to Mirkwood that I'm in right now, and then the full Mirkwood zone where you're going all the way through like the Dower Stalks and then the marshes and then into Dol Guldur here. I don't know why for a long time I did not do it. I think it was just because I would level into Moria and I'd get so many levels through the Moria stuff that I'd come out of Moria at like 65 or so and kind of go straight into Great River and things like that, because Moria or Mirkwood was a smaller expansion level range wise. It wasn't until much later that I went back and actually appreciated Mirkwood as an expansion, and now it is one of my favorite little areas. It doesn't last long enough. And there we go. Second bridge scouted. Both of them are destroyed. And oh, I got something to do up here. I think this is more finding finding soldiers maybe. I didn't think I had the one for captured soldiers here yet. Might just be pointing me here because some of the mobs I need to kill are in the area, instead of this being a specific spot I need to go. Yeah, because there's riders in here. That's why it's pointing me here this early. These are just such cool little outpost areas here. But I don't have the quest to actually come here and do stuff yet, so I'm gonna leave this area for these guys. I do really have to say that after the Captain revamp a couple of major patches ago, Redline Captain is so much more fun to play out in the world. Really just a couple of minor tweaks that they made to it make a huge difference. Rider. Oh, but there's a runner out. Just because these guys are a pain to find. Back on the elk, and yes, I know it is kind of weird being a dwarf riding an elk, but it's a thing. I need to find and kill 3 of these runners. These are the little goblin runners that run messages back and forth throughout the various enemy camps in the area. But of course, they're basically sitting there running along the road, so they can be a pain to get sometimes. Ooh. Come back here. Yeah, I mean, technically, my doing a million things that gave me figments of splendor to buy cosmetics and fripperies with gave them to me, not my elf friends, but, you know. One extra runner's gonna die just because he decided he didn't like my archer. Should be my last rider there. Yep, 6 of 7. Next up, I'm heading to kind of the big camp with all the siege engines in it. Jam the gate mechanism to sabotage what the baddies are doing, and then go break a bunch of their stuff. I know, it's that great compromise between MMOs being worlds and games. But let's be honest, look at the balance levels of world stuff versus game stuff. Very few MMOs land as hard on the world versus game side as Lotro does. It's one of the reasons why it is my home. And I don't know if you saw this. I know there have been a few creators who have made videos about the most recent Lotro dev update that was just out on Cord's Wednesday or Thursday, Court of the Rings. He had Severlin on, who is the game's kind of lead producer guy. Sev is kind of Standing Stone's Joppa, as far as the some of the roles he fulfills. And one of the major beans that was dropped was coming fairly soon to the game. River Hobbits as a new playable race. Finally going to be in the game. So we're gonna get the Hobbit tribe that actually were the waterfaring and like river boating ones. You know, Smeagol and Deagle would have been of that ilk. Yes, you won't actually be able to make or play Gollum, although there is Gollum much later in the game. But the kind of tribe or group of hobbits that they originated from were more of those river-dwelling people. And so river hobbits are finally going to be making their way into the game. So whole new aesthetic look and feel for hobbits. It's gonna be really nice. They put out some concept art that they've been working on. We need one more ballista, and I think some up on the hill. Right past this warrior. You do not get to knock me down, silly. Okay, last ballista destroyed. Think that is all. Go back and turn stuff in. Yep. Yeah, the latest Court of the Rings / dev update that they put out had some really great info that they discussed in it. The River Hobbits, more talk about the upcoming new class for the Umbar expansion, which has been officially named as the Mariner, so people can stop calling it the Corsair, even though they've already said that they're not going to be Corsairs. Nobody just had a real name for it as a fill-in yet. Also some talk about the back-end things that they're doing that need to be done on the technical side to prepare for things like higher resolution support and work, as well as an updated launcher. Talk about a planned upcoming stat squish by the end of this year, hopefully, which is going to be really good. And a few items that they've been able to identify as lag sources and upcoming fixes for those, which should be coming in within the next week unless they find problems with their fixes.
What do you need? Mind my words, traveler.
Okay, she wants me to rescue a captive soldier. Who is, of course, up where I was before. And I'm going to ignore that, and I'm just going to go ahead and finish the assault quest here. But I can go to Mirkwood proper, rather than the little mini Mirkwood I've been in. Oh, we're assaulting the fortress to finish the elves retaking their foothold here. But yeah, lots of cool stuff hopefully coming to Lotro in episode 37 and on to the rest of the year. It was also funny to hear Severlin frequently stop and remind Cord whenever Cord would talk about things like devs for DDO and devs for Lotro, you know, some people doing one, some people doing the other. Severlin would basically constantly remind, like, no, there really is only one dev team that does both projects. They just kind of have to shuffle back and forth between the two to keep both of them running and going. Just kind of doubles down on ultimately how comparatively small of a dev team Standing Stone has and the scope of what they do actively supporting two games and developing both of them. Yeah, thankfully, the new parent company is actually forcing Daybreak to allocate resources to Standing Stone's dev team, which is one of the reasons why some of the old Lotro devs are back with the team now, who were gone for a very long time. Which let them kind of get that knowledge back, because for a long time, the dev teams were functionally people who had all come into the team, you know, a decade or more after the game was conceived and originally built. So all of that kind of, like they talk about, tribal knowledge was just lost from people having left the team over the years to do other things. So a lot of things had to be just kind of figured out and piecemealed as far as how does this nonsense of spaghetti stuff work? They still make and roll out content for DDO. It doesn't seem to be at quite the same clip as Lotro is lately, but that also might just be my impression because I don't pay as much attention to DDO as I do to Lotro. So that is entirely possible that they get more than I pay attention to. But it is definitely not like maintenance moded or sunset. It is still active. All right, so we took out the commander of the garrison here. Think there's any stragglers? Nope, we got them all. And so we've taken the fortress, and now
for good or ill, we now have no
we get the
choice but to
invader
embark
of
on this
Mirkwood.
journey.
And that basically lets us access all of Mirkwood. Previously, it was locked off behind that gate because we hadn't
We have made the landing, but now the second party
we
has
hadn't
crossed.
taken this area from the orcs.
Might you spare a moment of your time?
Kill goblin scouts and take tokens.
Stay a moment.
Go plant a banner at one of the fortresses. I think what I'm really gonna do to finish. There we are. I just completely missed it. Stable Master and Milestone.
Meg of Onan.
I'm going to reset my milestone here so that I can get back here easily.
Mind my words, traveler.
Yeah, you want animals. I'm going to go through here and grab the Haunted Inn stable master. Just kind of leapfrog over to the next part into Mirkwood. Because this area is all nice and everything, but the rest of Mirkwood is where it's actually really fun. That same place where I just smashed up all of the orcish war machines. And here's that gate, which is now open, so I can go through it into the rest of Mirkwood. Scenery changes just a bit. Get all the creepy Mirkwood trees and fog. And spiders. There will be so many spiders. Mirkwood is one of the places where the Necromancer of Dol Guldur storyline really is at the forefront as well. Makes sense with the whole creepy atmosphere, and then we've got the Haunted Inn, which is going here.
How can I be of
Now I have a stable route. Probably just going to set my Hearthstone here. It's 3 o'clock and I need food. So, have fun editing, and I'm going to have fun eating.